have it. There you go. All right. Do you like to make beer? Have you ever made beer in your life?
No, do you think I've made beer?
I don't know. You like pies, you like cakes. Well, I tell you what, if you're a beer drinker and you want to drink beer in your own home, but beer that you made, go check out our friends over at the Craft Brewing Shop. She'll laugh and we'll
Sorry,
watch
my
this.
giggle box got turned over.
Yeah.
This is cool stuff.
It
Take
is.
a look.
So this is right for anybody who wants to get into the craft beer business.
Absolutely. This is a great opportunity for them to pick up a hobby that will actually give them a great reward at the end. It's sort of fun to go through all the effort, but also create something that, you know, brings people such joy.
So when someone goes to one of these bigger breweries and you think, man, I want that at home, like you can do it, but just on a smaller level.
Yes, yes. They're actually allowed to make up to 250 gallons at home. It's perfectly legal for a person to brew their own beer and their wine.
So you've got all the supplies here. So to walk me through the process, like what would you need to invest in first?
Well, it depends upon the scope of the recipe and the scale of it, but we have some items that are starting with as little as $100 investment. So think of it like fishing. You know, it doesn't really take a lot to get the ball rolling. You know, really just line and a hook. But the thing is, we get a lot of people that they'll buy these big extravagant things that are not really necessary. That being said, anyone that has a 1-gallon boil kettle at home can start brewing their own beer.
Simple as that. Now, how do you figure out what type of taste or what kind of flavor you're going for? Is that kind of where the fun part comes in?
Yes, that's where the recipe comes in. We've got 40 different types of grains. We've got 75 different types of hops and about 30 different types of yeast, each one in different concentrations and with different timing gives you a different flavor. So the amount of different combinations that can be set up are, you know,
How long does it take to make?
There's several.
There's several. How long does it take to brew beer?
It actually takes 1 day of processing to make the beer. You have to put it into a fermenter. It takes approximately 1 to 2 weeks to ferment the beer. That's actually when it officially becomes beer. And then you have to package it, bottle it into a keg or a bottle. And yeah, you can actually reuse store-bought bottles. So, but then it has to age for about another month after that. Believe it or not, beer is aged just like wine. It's aged in weeks instead of years. If you've ever bought a bottle of wine, it says a date on it as to when they had made it. And the thing about it is with beer, it's essentially the same way. And just like wine, it does tend to get a little better if you let it age. You mentioned going for a low price. One of the easiest ways for a person to learn is with these brewing pouches. Now, the pouch itself is actually a complete beer recipe. You additional sugar to it, which we've got right here, and the additional sugar brings the alcohol up. It is not required, but a lot of people don't want what's called a sessions beer. They want an actual beer with 5% instead of 3% alcohol. This is this flavor. We really suggest that people start with an American Pale Ale. It's somewhat hoppy without being an Indian Pale Ale, not being a true IPA, so it's a little bit more neutral for people. It plays well for people that are both beer and wine connoisseurs. But if you look at the price on this, this is $35. The corn sugar bag is an additional $3. That brings it up to $38. We got buckets, and the full setup thereabout will bring it up to close to about $100 for them to cap their own beer and process and cap their own beer at home. So,
Okay, so what do we have here?
what we have is a scale where we measure out our grains. You can actually measure out whatever grain that you would want to go into the recipe, and depending upon the amount and the concentration and the time in which it's added to the beer, it changes the flavor and ultimately the amount of sugar in it. Some beers are really dry and light, and some are really heavy and sweet, and this is how we get that done. We have over 40 different types of malts, and like I say, that each gives you a dimension of control as to what the end product is going to taste like.
So what does this taste like?
Well, go ahead. You're welcome to just try it. You'll notice that it's sort of a bready and
Yeah,
you know.
kind of like a biscuit.
Well, this one is, yes. There's also a sweetness to it, and that sweetness is actually what we get out of the grain when we're looking to get those fermentable sugars. So you actually have to crush it in a mill, and then sort of let it sit in hot water at 150 degrees for up to an hour, depending upon the amount that you have and the recipe and the style.
All right, let's get a little personal here. How did you get in the beer business? I mean, is this something? I mean, I know you like to drink beer, and your dad's over there, and he's a very knowledgeable guy as well. But is that how you got introduced to beer?
Actually, the two of us wanted to have a hobby that we could do together, and beer seemed to really bring the family together. So,
you know what? That is a great line right there. It has brought the family together. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're thinking, you know what? I've always wanted to brew my own batch of beer. You can do it right here. Yeah. Come on in, let you guys walk through the process. Now, real quickly, financially, what ballpark of what it would take to get your little brewery off the ground?
Okay, so lowest dollar amount for a person just to get say a 5-gallon batch rolling, assuming they're going to reuse store-bought bottles, is under $100. So just shy of that.
There you go. And of course, you can name your beer anything you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can name it Living Local Central Texas Beer. I don't know.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of different creative names floating around there.
I love it.
For sure.
All right, well, come check it out right here. And a website for you guys, social media?
Yeah, craftbrewingshop.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and, trying to slam that out. My wife actually handles that side of it, so this really is a family operation.
This is your area right here. All right.
I'm more of a technical person on getting it done.
That sounds like a great place to say, beer me!
Yes.
Right here.
Absolutely.